Versatile Mage. Chapter 370. You're welcome to revenge yourself. Mo Fan continued to summon fireballs on his hands, which swept across the sky before turning into 2-meter explosions close to Dongfang Ming. Dongfang Ming was wearing magic armor, which was obviously nothing cheap, either. It had helped to nullify the impact of many of the fire burst ruptures. Unfortunately, Mo Fan's firing rate was too high. The impact from the explosions gave Dongfang Ming no chance to focus on aligning his star patterns. Dongfang Ming found himself in a rather awkward position. His speed at aligning star patterns was significantly faster than anyone else, and sometimes he could even cast an intermediate magic faster than someone casting a basic spell. However, he was totally suppressed by Mo Fan. He had no chance of casting an intermediate spell, as every time the star patterns were about to be completed, his opponent would simply hurl an enhanced fire burst in his direction. The explosion would then dazzle his eyes and deafen his ears. Even his armor could not hold out much longer. Clenching his teeth, Dongfang Ming finally put his pride aside and quickly backed off a great distance away from Mo Fan. With a thought, Dongfang Ming summoned his wing equipment. It was a pair of blue wings, the feathers on them extremely obvious. With a beat, Dongfang Ming launched himself into the air. Dongfang Ming had initially planned to fight Mo Fan head-on, but he ended up being suppressed by his opponent with mere basic spells. He had no choice but to activate his wing equipment and abuse his advantage of moving in the sky to gain the upper hand of the battle. Dongfang Ming was still aware of the situation. Once his armor was broken, he no longer had a chance against Mo Fan. A fire burst's firing range was limited, after all. As long as Dongfang Ming was in the air, he could target Mo Fan by using his fiery fist as meteors. The wing equipment was very expensive, but it indeed made Dongfang Ming unbeatable. I admit that you have managed to suppress me with your little trick, but you are still no match for me. Dongfang Ming was now 20 meters high up in the sky. Do you think I'll let you fly away as you wish? Mo Fan smiled. The red star patterns stopped appearing. They were replaced by a purple-black star pattern that was already completed under Mo Fan's feet. Lightning arcs began to flicker around Mo Fan. Changjin Thunderbolt. Yaksha. Mo Fan pointed his finger in Dongfang Ming's direction. A lightning arc swept across the sky directly at the flying man. Thunderous clouds quickly appeared, looming over Dongfang Ming's head from above. Dongfang Ming totally lost his composure when he saw the clouds. Lightning element. He clearly remembered that his opponent had used a shadow element spell to dodge his attacks. Therefore, it was clear that he was cultivating the shadow element and the fire element. Where did this lightning element come from? You're not the only one with an innate talent. Mo Fan laughed out. The end of the words signaled the lightning striking down. The lightning was swift and violent. The thick lightning bolt swept across the night sky in a spectacular manner, leaving a trail of sparks behind. The destructive energy suddenly split apart halfway through the journey, forming the shape of a devil's claw. The purple-black lightning claw grabbed at Dongfang Ming ferociously in midair. Dongfang Ming was struck by the lightning, failing to react in time. The lightning set him ablaze. If it weren't for his armor, he would have turned into a scorched corpse in the air. The lightning knocked him to the ground. The force from Changjin's special effect almost knocked his bones loose. He slammed into the ground like a pile of mud. Dongfang Ming tried to rise to his feet, but he was totally out of energy. The purple-black lightning arcs were still crackling on his skin, keeping him paralyzed. Once his armor was penetrated by the lightning, his weak body was too vulnerable to the lightning arcs. I don't think it has taken 15 minutes. Mo Fan grinned. He looked down at Dongfang Ming, who was reluctant to accept the truth. It went without saying that an intermediate magician who owned a piece of wing equipment and an expensive armor equipment would have quite a formidable background. His pride was on the verge of leaking out from his bones. However, he was thoroughly humiliated by Mo Fan, who was also an intermediate magician. It was definitely a great blow to his soul. I know who you are. Dongfang Ming clenched his teeth and blurted out in pain. Who else would have double innate elements? You're welcome to revenge yourself, Mo Fan smilingly said. He did not even bother hiding his identity. The enforcement union could easily check his identity in a matter of seconds. However, the cause of this incident was mainly infighting between the people in the organization. Even Zhu Meng would not be able to charge him with an offense, thus Mo Fan could not care less if his identity was exposed. Others could easily find out regardless of his efforts to try and hide it. You just wait. Dongfang Ming's eyes could almost spit out flames of fury. Mo Fan ignored his threats and quickly headed toward Tang Yu. Tang Yu was fighting against 4 enemies simultaneously, consisting of 3 intermediate magicians and 1 razor-feathered sparrow in the advancing period. The 3 intermediate magicians did not pose any threat, but the razor-feathered sparrow was the most troublesome to deal with. As Mo Fan arrived, Tang Yu was already forced to use her Death Strike magic equipment. It had inflicted serious damage to the razor-feathered sparrow, but she was also in a pinch. The 3 intermediate magicians took turns blasting her with intermediate spells. Tang Yu had no defensive magic, so she could only dodge them with fleeing shadow. Miss Tang Yu, don't come to me, I have no defensive spells either. Try and distract those 2, and I'll get rid of the weakest among them, Mo Fan said to Tang Yu, who was fairly close to him. It went without saying that Mo Fan would not barge into the battle randomly. He had secretly made his way here with fleeing shadow. Got it. As soon as Tang Yu showed up, 3 thick ice chains suddenly appeared, locking onto Tang Yu's position. They were trying to crush her bones without mercy. Tang Yu could not afford to lose her focus. She swiftly ran in the opposite direction of the ice chains. She did not use the fleeing shadow, as it was easier to keep the enemy's attention on her without it. Tang Yu and Mo Fan were both shadow element magicians, thus they were able to share a great synergy with one another. Tang Yu had pretended to stumble into a dead end, while Mo Fan sneakily moved forward in the grass to where Lu Yilan was at. She's almost done for. I've got her pinned with my ice lock. Lu Yilan blurted out in excitement. Don't hurt her. Her identity is rather special, said Lu Jungming. Don't worry, I'll control my spell. Brother, does this mean it's only a matter of time until I become an official member of the Magic Court, once we've taken her down? Said Lu Yilan. Lu Jungming did not respond. He was focusing on controlling his earth wave to prevent Tang Yu from escaping. However, an unfriendly voice suddenly appeared beside Lu Yilan. Lu Yilan, maybe I was being too soft on you. You're trying to hurt my woman again. Lu Yilan turned around in a panic and saw a familiar face he extremely hated. It was the same person that had brought utter humiliation to his name at school. He was defeated instantly by a single attack. However, before Lu Yilan could be enraged, he subconsciously shivered in fear. How did this guy appear behind me? Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.